solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
James Jackson, Jackson. Good evening, my name is Jim Jackson. I'm a civil engineer with CBI McGuire. And one of the aspects we asked to review was the traffic impacts of the project. And we went through the application to submit to the Energy Facility Siting Board, and then also they supplementally gave us a traffic impact study that was performed by the developer by a firm named McMahon Transportation Engineers. They looked at the project with two aspects to look at: was during construction and then after construction during operations, the traffic would be. The biggest impacts were during the construction. You have trucks delivering, and then you also have the craftsmen working on the project. So looking at that, they looked at most of the materials will be coming in from the Route 44, Route 100, that would be the main trucking route into the site. The craftsmen will be, generally they'll be coming in that direction too, but they could be coming from some local townspeople, But they did some modeling, and they modeled the traffic impacts on the signal intersections in Pasco. And they did find some impacts during construction. There will be some delays. It's unavoidable, and there really wasn't anything that could be done to mitigate those delays in the village process. So there will be some delays during construction. During operations, the traffic will be negligible. There'll be, I think it's about 40 trips a day with employees kind of back and forth. And then there would be deliveries of some materials, the fuel oil that's being delivered, and then some just general house cleaning supply kind of things being delivered to the site. So,
it's a directional mic. If you're holding it straight up, it's picking sound straight up. You gotta hold it in with you.
Thanks. All right. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So as I had said, the impacts during construction, there will be some delays at the intersection, the signalized intersections. We, agree with the modeling that they did, and kind of agree with what they concluded. And there really isn't too much that can be done with that. And then during operations, it seems like there'll be no impacts to traffic after construction is completed.
Did the traffic study take into account any possible degradation of the roads with all the heavy equipment going across, or was that contemplated as part of the study?
Yes, they did. They looked at, they did an analysis of the roads on the main trucking route, that's Route 100, Route 44, just to get some baseline information. And they will have, those are state roads there, so they will have an agreement with with RIDOT to make improvements if there is any damage from the increased truck traffic and unusual damage to the roadways.
Okay. Did the report say anything about any oversized vehicles coming through? So, for instance, sometimes when they put in bridges, they have Hallamore trucking and they have some very huge pieces. Do you know if there's anything contemplated in here where you have to have some rather large pieces running through the middle of Pasco?
They will have, in general, the truck traffic will be more what you used to see: gravel, concrete trucks come out, but there will be some large pieces of equipment that will be delivered to the site, and those will have to be, those will need special permits with the right out to get to the site.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jackson, during the review of the traffic study, was there anything looked into in the account of say an emergency situation, say during construction, that a 15-yard concrete truck tipped over and spilled out its access on, say, Route 100, and it's in an area where there's no other access all the way up through that roadway?
No, they didn't really study, any kind of situations happen. They do, as part of the study, they do like an accident analysis. So what that does is it establishes what the accident rate is, before the construction, and then kind of models what you can expect for accidents, but that's more of a general, not what you're saying, if one road is closed due to some kind of accident, and it may not even be related to the construction, where is this traffic going to go? And that was not done, that's generally not done in the traffic impact study.
Okay, thank you, because generally that route is a one-way route. It has no other access ways on a situation like that. Thank you.
Just one quick question. Are you required to inform the abutting municipalities of the traffic study? For example, Gloucester or Smithfield, where these trucks will probably be originating?
Well, we'll go to RIDOT, so, RIDOT kind of controls their state roads, so they'll have, Route 100, Route 44, those are state roads, so they will be, we'll go through RIDOT. I guess if they want to do any coordination with the local towns.
So this report would go to those municipalities?
It would go to RIDOT. I don't know that it would go to the municipality.
Mr. Jackson, I noticed that in the traffic study, they did a very nice layout on good weather and clean weather, but they seem to have avoided at least two of the corners. Primarily the one at High Street and Church Street at the Lake Plaza, that area. I have trouble getting through there with my truck and the trailer. And I'm looking at 18-wheelers going through there, not just for the delivery, but there's going to be regular deliveries coming up to the plant during operation. And my concern primarily is at that intersection of High Street and Church Street, especially in the wintertime when the energy predicted they would be running out of diesel. If at any time they'd be using the diesel fuel at that point in the wintertime. That section gets tightened up really quick, but I didn't see any mention at all of doing anything to improve either the sight distance or the travel distance. The other thing I've noticed is that on that part of Route 100, there's very little 18-wheeler traffic on that road right now, so there's no real test model to go by. Was there anything brought up to further study that you're aware of?
Not that I know of. I mean, they will have to get some permitting through RIDOT, and RIDOT could, ask them to do some further analysis as far as like truck turning, these auto turn programs that you can run through that intersection to make sure that it's clearing through the trucks.
You got it.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
So during the construction process, will they need like overweight, oversized truck permits or flag cars or special like permits from RIDOT?
I mean, all the trucking will have to conform to the RIDOT regulations now, so if they're oversized, overweight.
Do you know what those regulations are? Something that you looked at?
They didn't look at that in the report, but that would be, the trucking companies would be responsible for that. If there's any oversized loads, they would have to get permits.
So trucks coming down Route 100 into Main Street, Pasco, you familiar with that intersection?
Yes.
So what I'm asking you is that trucks that are oversized, will have to do anything different? Will have to open up that intersection? Will roads have to be paved or widened? Or, I mean, Church Street is a narrow road, so when you have a flag or something that's oversized coming down the road, that could create a problem in the wintertime. I just wonder if you looked at those things.
Yeah, right now the design isn't far enough along that they know the size. I believe they know the size of the equipment. They'll be shipping, trucking in and the oversized load. But project of this magnitude, there will be some oversized loads, and they will have to study that as they determine.
So you don't have any studies right now, so you basically don't know the answer to most of these questions.
To that question, I don't know.
Hi there. The roadway coming into service the Clear River Energy site, would that be falling under the new guidelines for construction? Because they would have to be seeing so much heavier traffic during operation. Will the new road go to new standards or require new standards?
You're saying access road into the site? I mean, it'll be a private road that would never become, town-owned or state, owned or maintained. So they would design it to what standards they feel they need to adequately.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm sorry. You want it, Mike?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Jackson, just to be clear that the primary roads that will be servicing this site are state roads, correct?
Yes,
And those would be under the jurisdiction of the Rhode Island Department of Transportation.
yes.
And in terms of permits that would be needed from the state, it's correct, as you indicated, that sort of the larger equipment, vehicles would need permits, and then also a physical alteration permit would be needed for the access from DOT, correct?
Yeah, the physical alteration permit would be for the curb cut access to the site.
And those are all under state standards. True.
Yes.
I have nothing further.
We have one more question for you, sir.
So during normal operations and construction, the vehicles would all be traveling along a state highway. During emergency situations, would they be able to stay maintained on that state highway? If there was a shutdown on the main highway, for instance, Church Street, major accident on Church Street in the middle of construction phases, they would not be able to maintain staying on the state highway?
I would assume if the road was blocked and you have a concrete delivery coming, they would seek alternate routes if the road was blocked and shut down. That would be a short-term situation.
But they would have to travel on town roads other than, state highway.
Yeah, I would assume that's the way they would do it. They would, they wouldn't just stop and I don't think they would stop and wait for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the next issue to be discussed is the master plan review, and Mr. Jackson is going to handle that as well.
Yes, we reviewed the plans submitted with the planning board submission. They're very preliminary right now, so there wasn't a lot of detail to review on them. But a couple of the items that we did look at was the storm drainage. They showed 3 detention ponds. And with the stormwater, with the site being developed, as planning board, you're probably quite familiar with this, but you're going to increase the impervious area. So you've got to take measures to reduce the runoff from the site and then also treat the runoff from the site. Those issues weren't clearly, resolved in this set of plans. It was just, they made, notice of it by showing a couple of detention ponds, but there was really no detail, no stormwater report that you would normally expect. That would show how much you're increasing the flow, how you're taking care of that flow, and how you're treating the runoff. So that's something that we would recommend being reviewed thoroughly as it becomes available. One of the other issues we looked at was the impacts to wetlands. And there are quite a few wetlands on the site. One of the major impacts is the access road coming into the site. And our wetland biologists recommend, trying to avoid that. Maybe try to use the access road that's already there to the gas compressor facility. That brings up some other issues too by using that road. I don't think the gas compressor people want that used for that. And it's not as good of from a traffic impact. It's not as good of a location for that access road. Also on the site, there's some laydown areas that will have some impacts to the wetlands. we're recommending that they look a little more closely at this and try to reduce the impacts to wetlands. The project will have to go through wetland permitting through Rhode Island DEM, and that's where a lot of this will get ironed out. If there are unavoidable impacts to wetlands, mitigation will have to be done, and that'll be identified in the further design. But DEM will be looking at avoidance of the wetlands will be the main thing, and if there are unavoidable impacts, mitigation. I think that pretty much covers that review.
Mr. Jackson, I'd like to discuss these plans with you a little bit and get your input on this also. It is a rather, 7-sheet set, very similar to the conceptual set of plans that was distributed to us a few months ago. Some of my comments about these plans are, well, I'd like to begin with sheet number 1, or the boundary survey plan, which is sheet 15-015_SU1. This plan certifies as being a Class 1 survey as adopted by the Rhode Island Board of Registrations for Land Surveyors effective April 1st, 1994. This plan is not in compliance with the 1994 requirements. You can't even read the plan. The plan was submitted to this board in 2016. The state of Rhode Island and the Board of Registration for Surveyors has new standards developed at the beginning of 2016 that these plans really need to comply with. Same thing with the second sheet. Certified as a Class 1 survey. It does not meet the Class 1 survey standards. And it needs to comply with the 2016 standards. When these plans were submitted to us in the conceptual phase, there were a bunch of questions that were asked. Some of them pertaining to the wetlands. And there's been nothing addressed about them. There's one wetland retention area for stormwater storage that's placed inside of an area that is surrounded by wetlands. So what they're doing is they're essentially trying to say that they can put a retention pond on the opposite side of the wetland. Do you think that's possible?
No, as I said earlier, the stormwater really isn't thought out in these plans. They will have to work on that and get a full stormwater report and design plans for the stormwater.
And they, that whole roadway going all the way down to Wall Lake Road, there's no mitigation. I mean, we've got no stormwater down the intersection. So there's going to be runoff onto Wall Lake Road, which is not feasible. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, well, as part of that physical alteration permit with RIDA, they'll make sure that there's no new stormwater being introduced into the roadway. They'll have to take care of all that on site.
I think a lot of this could be solved if they were to, again, go to the Algonquin people, because Algonquin's not the only people that use that right away. There's a cell tower located up at the end of that, so there's some kind of an easement. And I really believe that if they looked into it, they could increase their security in both facilities if they used the same entrance. They would eliminate not a lot of wetland mitigation needs. So I really strongly believe that Invenergy should attempt to contact Algonquin again. I mean, they are kind of working in the same situation, and they should be able to come to some kind of mutual agreement. That's just a suggestion I have. On the final sheet, it talks about, groundwater resources, there's none shown. Hydric soils, there's no soils type shown. Again, it's just deficiencies in the plans that should be addressed, and hopefully, I'm not even sure this board is going to have the opportunity to address those plans any further.
Probably not.
So, it's just kind of depressing to see all this information and not being able to follow through on it and have us be required to Energy Facilities Siting Board prior to having all the information that we usually used to receiving on this board and seeing prior to making any recommendations. That's all I have.
My colleague down at the end is being generous. He's calling it a master plan. At this stage, speaking master plan, I expect to see something hard, no pun intended, concrete. It helps to answer a lot of our questions. And it's not just being the planning board, which we are, it's getting into the details of the plan, seeing how things are going to happen. It tells us a lot about the company that we have to deal with, in this case, of energy. If we don't have a two-way form of communications, I don't feel comfortable with this. I'm talking just as a planning board member. We don't have anything to go by to even really discuss. We see a conceptual idea of how the plan will be laid out, where this might be, where that may be. And we have to rely on you guys for a lot of this, and I'm sorry to dump this on you too. But I think if we had the master plans to go by, we'd be that much further to be able to talk about what we see in front of us. And that, I think, is what bothers me most about this. So when we refer to this as a master plan, I can't refer to it as a master plan. I can say a master stage, but because I don't see any plans, I can't even call it that anymore. Sorry, guys.
Now, I know you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, have a big task as well as we do as a planning board. You know, you're trying to convey to us information that you're receiving. This meeting should have been held June 6th, because of my understanding is because of lack of information or lack of responses that here we are today, on the 20th, was still not enough information. We're on the fast track, from what I understand. Certainly not for my benefit, not for the benefit of the citizens of Burrillville, but it's for the benefit of energy. And I would think that they would be a little more in line to get the information to us. And I would suggest, Mr. McElroy, that the time that we've lost without having this information, if it was possible to contact the siting board and ask them if we can have that time back.
Okay. Ms. Elizabeth, do you have a question? Do you want to
Getting back to the issue on the stormwater, that is a RIPD's permit that RIDEM oversees, correct?
That's correct.
And just so the board knows, there is a stormwater report that is being prepared and it should be done shortly. I might remind, as discussions go on, that this is master plan. And traditionally, the hard engineering comes after master plan. We have a tremendous